One muting. Okay, so now we've got ourselves set up. So welcome to the Libra New Moon Telecall, and for October 21st. So I hope everyone survived the eclipses. This is actually, I forgot to mention that this is actually the official closing part of the whole eclipse window, I think. And, because that last moon was in Aries last week, this moon being at 28 Libra is kind of an opposition to the moon we had last, 2 weeks ago. And so I think it's going to really balance out the deep dive that we did before. Let's see, Andrea Borealis. Okay, so she can't make it. Oh no. Oh, she had a problem. Anyway, yeah, so we're trying to rebalance, I think, all of what we experienced with the eclipses, and also look out into the outer world of form for the other, because Libra represents everything that's other than us. And there's just so much to who we are as human expression, of course. And we have tried to clear out so much up to these points. And of course, like I said, these eclipses, the last ones, will set us up for everything that's really going to be going on in the spring, by February with the next set of eclipses. I think that's what really solidifies everything. And since we've got a smaller group, I probably won't go into quite as much today and just go more into deep meditation, for clearing for us and for the world, because Lord knows we need to send healing out into the world. It's pretty chaotic out there right now. But, depending on where each of you are, a couple of you mentioned, in the call, when we began the call, that you're in good places. So that's really good. That means you've, I think, done a lot of the internal work, because a lot of you before the eclipse were going through some shifts and changes. And I've had a couple of interesting days in the last week or two that kind of knocked me on my feet. It was very intense energy, hard to breathe, and I just moved through it. I just went in, but it really took me into a lot of additional places of, personal, internal observation, releasing. And here's the deal. We're constantly going to go through that as long as we're here breathing in this 3D reality, I think. We've got a smaller group. I may just open this one up tonight. Everybody was quiet. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody, because we may not do a long thing, but maybe we'll just do this more conversational. If there's anything that you guys wanted to share with the energies, because we really are creating completely new realities for ourselves. And the function of it, I think we're higher function. Let me see. Okay, I muted one. Okay, I muted, we had some movement. Okay. So, we're really just trying to look into our relationship with everything else right now. That's what Libra really is, and 28 degrees is really at the master end of it. And that's also activating out of sign, actually in sign, out of sign oppositions with Neptune, because Neptune's still in Aries until actually tomorrow. I think it goes into Pisces. It goes ahead and does that dive. So we're about to have huge shifts with Uranus and Neptune. And of course, Saturn's already in Pisces, so that's already in opposition. So we're really being called to do any of the additional excavation work. So if you already know on a deep down level what you're going to be creating, how you're going to be creating it in the next 6 months, because basically they're all saying the new beginnings really take place by February, even into April of next year. And some of it may be, well, like Joyce, you mentioned today, you just let go and let God. You're just going to be in the flow. And I think as long as we stay in those spaces, we're going to really be, I think, in a good place of receiving things. Because if we're in resistance to anything, then that leads us to, potential pitfalls or suffering or something like that.
Well, Jonathan, can I say this?
Yeah.
That
yes.
with the distraction of all the fearful news and all that stuff, for me, it's almost like putting little Post-it notes all over the house so I can say, okay, where are my thoughts now? Okay, are we centered? Yeah. All right, are we still praying thy will be done? Like that.
Yeah.
Just to remind myself all day.
Reminders are good. Because, if we do set things up where we do remind ourselves of the little things will become regular habituation. And not necessarily from a bad habit place, but from a heartful place where you're always in the movement of flow. And I hate to use that word habituation because so many times, if we've been in habituated patterns anyway, the patterns so many times come from the woundedness, or they come from distortion. Things we're born into the family life with, business relationships, employment, what have you. Friendships. When we fall into habituation, it's kind of like it really takes us away from meeting the moment in a heartful way. Because if we're just in habituation, you're just going through emotion of whatever comes next, rather than being in spontaneous evolution. Let's call it that. And I think depending on how open our hearts and souls are, some people are constantly spontaneously creating every nanosecond. Their lives are really dynamic. They're in great flow. They have all these kinds of things. I'm not even in that. I wish I could say I was, but I'm still breaking apart all of the material world, which I've really done a lot on. I've got 24 boxes sitting over there that I've packed up in the last week of just books, just heavy stuff that I just don't need, and I'm really clearing out more and more. And the more I do that, it really frees up and opens spaces. And of course, feng shui people talk about this all the time, but we're also letting go of the old story or any old energy that's tied to that material world. And I think the more we can do that, we're really opening up, that dialogue with spirit and saying, I want a new life. I want something different. If you're not happy with where you're at. And then, of course, we get caught in the places between what is us and what is someone else. What's necessary. And I think that is one of the bigger things that we're facing. And again, part of that goes into the habituation patterns. Because as we give up habituation, then we're just being in isness. And so, the fact that you and Bobette both articulated basically the same thing when you came on, and she didn't hear what you had mentioned before. I forget which one came on first. Either way, you each had something to say that was very similar to the other. And so it's all about frequency. I really think we're coming into and embodying these frequencies of more joy, more happiness. And I mean, this is one thing Pam Gregory talks about, in a lot of her videos. I don't know how many of y'all are able to watch, Pam's stuff, but yeah, I mean, it really puts us in a new space. And yeah. I don't know if y'all had a chance to really read much of what I had sent out. I read about half of it, and then I skimmed through some of the others when I included them. I didn't have a chance to do a lot as I did it this morning. I was like, "Ooh, shoot, I hadn't sent the email yet." So I just get so lost. I feel like I'm losing time. Do any of y'all feel like you're losing time? At all?
Actually, I feel sometimes like I'm on a movie set and it's not real.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I do that all the time.
Oh, do you? It's a different planet. We're in a different energy. Yeah. And the reminder, I'm here. I'm still here. How can I be more fully present?
Right.
Yeah. As I make a return,
It is. It's bizarre. I mean, it almost feels like we're in a twilight zone, because everything in the external world, the people that control the world as far as leaders and stuff like that, they're all doing their things. But it puts us in a place where it's almost like it doesn't feel like it's real. And really, in truth,
right.
I think a lot of the bigger part of what's happening, you see, we're trying to balance out lifetimes of distortion. And so, when people ask me about what I think about what Donald Trump's doing, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a Donald Trump or Putin or Zelensky or any of the ones that head the EUs, or I even heard from one of the other, the previous Colombia president was talking about, him blowing up ships in the ocean. He's like, well, we've got huge drug issues. And so many of the issues that we have plagued the world have been swept under the rug and not talked about for a long time. So I'm not going to give an opinion on whether I think something's good or bad. Our opinions, really, quite frankly, are just that. We can have an opinion toward them, but unless we go really deep, I mean, we're required to deep dive on this. And anybody that's out there acting as a bull in a china shop right now, they're doing exactly what their soul came here to do. And sometimes it's hard to remember that everyone has a destiny pattern, and everyone has this is lifetimes of accrued past life karma that are working out. I will also say every person that's in charge of anything right now also has a soul choice to make. And this is true. It's always true. Every nanosecond, Donald Trump can either take a high road or a low road. So can all the Democrats. Everyone in the House and Representatives, they can always choose one way or the other. And the densification of the previous karma that's being played out, and this is happening in every nation individually in a unique way, but it's also happening in between the nations in a very unique way. And so all of the patterning, and this would be based on where Saturn was, the work we came here to do in soul groups, Neptune, delusions, all these kinds of things, 1776. I mean, war times, all the big wars, World War I, II, we're in III. It's just an informational war. The civil wars, all of these energies are being reactivated, and politicians are mentioning it. They talk about this. I mean, we're basically reliving the energy of the 60s right now, and it's kind of like a second Saturn return. So wherever we failed in the 60s, and there was a lot of good movement in the 60s, and there was a lot of wake up in the 60s. We're redoing that now, but in a different way. And I don't want to think about it from lower third dimensional expressions, but what's happening in more cosmic awareness. And when you you listen to some of these astrologers that talk about like 3-eye Atlas, this comet that they say is not a comet. And some of the stories are going way out there as far as what it is and what it represents. But the fact that it is crossing all the personal planets right now is a big deal. I mean, this has never happened that anyone has ever known. If it did happen, the NASA didn't tell us about it, or none of the other space organizations. So they've all been complicit in covering something up. But I don't think it has happened. And the reason I don't think it's happened is because when I go into the astro.com, the Astro Dance computer in Zurich, Switzerland, they actually have a couple of the previous comets, Oumuamua, and I think it's got Borisov in there. But those are two of the bigger ones that are considered to be interstellar objects that have come into the solar system. And again, I mean, whoever's discussing these types of things can only discuss them to the extent of whoever's teaching them or whoever they're using for sources of information. So if you've got someone that's deeply based in astronomical physics, like Stephen Burns, he's also deeply grounded, I think, in the esoteric world, and he talks about things in more cosmic awareness than some of the scientific community does. The scientific community is going to look at where these placements are and how they're functioning just as bodies that are introduced into the solar system. But if you go in and you look at the bigger picture, and even if you look at it in the context of when comets used to come in before, and you go through all the folklore and the history and the mythologies and the stories that have been brought forth, there were always harbingers of huge change. And I do think that these comets, I mean, there's actually about 6 of them out there right now. There's Lemon with 2 M's. There's been 2 swans between, I think, last year and this year. And then I forget what the names are. They just name them, just numbers, some of them. But the point is, I think there's a lot of cosmic traffic out there. And whether they're visiting our solar system, whether it's extraterrestrial stuff, I mean, who knows? I mean, the fact that humans have even talked about this with regards to television shows, movies, things like that, they came up with the idea from somewhere. So either they have very vivid imaginations, or, and I've said this so many times, I mean, we can't imagine that humans are the most intelligent species in the cosmos. I just, I mean, you've got light beings that are just pure presence and pure isness that they don't get caught up in the other thought forms. I mean, Judith has said for the last umpteen years. I mean, she did this stuff for 50 years, and she was taken into this stuff in the 70s and 80s in Mount Shasta. She always had other beings and awarenesses come to her and give her information with things. And I mean, you've got too many other people, thousands of people that have these experiences. They're internal events that if the soul was really open, let me see here. Okay. I think Judy was moving around. I've silenced her line. Judy, just let me know if you do want to talk or something. I can undo you, or you can undo you. But there's all of this galactic awareness that's really coming in. And that really is, I think, one of the more important things to really, I think, focus on, is because we are really stepping into cosmic awareness. And I think that all of these, like actually with this moon, when I pulled up, actually I think I'll pull the chart. If I remember right, today is the actual day that 3-eye Atlas is going over the path, or this moon is being perfected today on the 3-eye Atlas path in conjunction with it, which is a big deal. Now, some of the astrophysicists, whatever else, have been talking about that it would be closest to the sun on the 30th. I've got it with Venus on the 30th based on my path. And my path is very similar to someone else that made an ephemeris for the path like they do for any other planets and objects. And her path is almost laid right directly on mine. So who knows which path is more correct. The point is, it's in the vicinity of every single personal planet. It's going to cross Mars on the 3rd. It crossed Mercury, which is all communication, on the 8th and 9th. Okay, I've pulled it up now. Let's see. Okay, that's December. Oh, I've got to go up. Okay, where's October? Okay, here we go. Didn't want to go that far. Let's see. Computers are so persnickety. The newer computer doesn't move as fast as the other one did as far as... Okay, here we go, almost. But the point is that from an astrological standpoint and understanding of the sky, the Atlas, again, is going across, or it went across Mars, Mercury. Now it's at this new moon sun, which is sextiling the galactic center. Again, if you don't need to know the astrology, but the point of that is it's a workable energy with the galactic center, which is the Milky Way, the center of our universe. That's not a mistake. The two of the fates, Atropos and Clotho, are there in attendance. So these are fated events. The Tesla asteroid is in attendance. I mean, what's the odds that an asteroid is going to be right in the middle of this? I think that is very pertinent. And again, everything's a frequency. So imagine that everything that was Tesla, whether it was Nikola Tesla, Tesla cars, Elon Musk would probably be in this because he, in this embodiment, created the Tesla. Who knows? Maybe Elon Musk is Nikola Tesla in this lifetime. I mean, who knows? But the point is, you really don't know. But all this energy is very workable energy, and it's whatever this atlas is, the fact it's on all these planets, and then again, on the 30th, it's going to be on Venus, so it will have crossed everything that affects us on a personal level, and it's happening here in Libra. Well, actually, Mars happened at 6 or 7 Scorpio. The Mercury happened around 2 or 3 of Scorpio. So Mercury and Mars accessing the Atlas path in Scorpio, that's that scorpionic world. That's the sex. That's lies. It's deep expression of what we hide. It's core sexual expression, sometimes with regards to even dysfunction. So I think the fact that all that got activated, I mean, I'm surprised that something else didn't happen with the Ghislaine Maxwell world. But I mean, you also saw Prince Andrew losing his titles. Whoop, that's a scorpionic thing. And that happened, just recently. That was Mercury being activated by this Atlas thing. So are there other instances where you have people that have misused sexual expression getting things come back to them now? We've got fates coming across all this right here with the sun. The sun brightens these things up. The new moon is being illuminated with the sun on this Atlas path. I don't think it's a mistake. And all of these things are happening at the end of Libra with this moon. So now the path of Atlas is going backwards through the signs. And it's going to continually do this through, I think, March the 12th of next year is when most of the astrophysicists say that it leaves our solar system. And so, I mean, we'll see how that works. Man, who knows? Maybe it'll stay. I don't know. But, and again, I mean, I don't want to bog too many of you down with the heavy astrology because most people really don't understand the astrology. But the point is, all this is written in the astrology. The other part that makes this complex, and this is one of the things I'm going to go into on the video when I make it, and I'm going to posture it for other astrologers. I want their observations and opinions on this because one of the biggest problems I have with all this is that the astrology that Western culture uses is, it went right out of my brain, tropical. It's the tropical astrology. So it basically adjusts everything off about 30 degrees, which means that the signs are not really in the signs that the sun are in. And I really want to get explanations on what these people think about this. At the same time, though, what's happening in the outer world of form really is kind of supported by the tropical astrology, or at least in Western interpretation. And this is where it gets really messy, because you've also got the sidereal astrologers, which means that they're actually looking where the sun is placed in the signs. And again, it's 30 degrees off, but their stuff actually seems pretty right on too. And I don't know how those two things reconcile. And quite frankly, it doesn't matter. The point is we're waking up to all of these things. And the other thing that I've noticed here too, once Venus meets up with this at the end of this month, in the whole month of November, my Bray asteroid, the Carl, and the Jung asteroids all are traveling together and meet up on this, 3-eye atlas. So is that going to change anybody that's got the last name and vibrational frequency of Jung and Bray? I don't know. Does it mean that I'm going to be, downloaded with the frequencies that Carl Jung embodied in that particular time? And like I've talked about in some of the previous calls, whether we're here in this physicality or when we transition back, the spirit's eternal. I mean, I honestly still feel like Judith's soul is working with every single one of us. And not too far down in the month of, actually, I guess it's going to be in end of November, December, the Judith asteroid, the John asteroid, and the Gregory asteroid all get hit in Virgo. And so, again, I don't think you can make this stuff up. Does that mean Pam Gregory's going to get a huge wake-up call? And this is going to happen. Her asteroid, the Gregory asteroid, hits the 3-eye atlas on the square to the galactic center. Anytime you have squares, conjunctions, any type of aspect, it usually heightens whatever energy is happening to us. And what I'm not sure of, but I think it's a both thing. We are the outer planets. The outer planets are us. When things are happening within us, when we have an awakening process about whatever it is, a concept, an idea, if there's some place that's dormant within us that's been kind of asleep, habituated patterning, the family stuff, if we're carrying all that, we will have moments that wake us up. Interestingly enough, it's in the astrology. And if I'm following the tropical astrology, which is what all of the Western world follows this, well, most of them. I mean, a lot of people follow some of the other astrological things too, but for some reason the astrology always seems to make sense. But that begs the question, does it make sense because we project the value onto it as the observers? And do we make the definitions fit what we think we're perceiving in reality? See how deep this gets? And it's like, who are we? Are we the creators? Are we the observers? And the truth is we're both. We're making it up as we go along, every single nanosecond. And when you have people, if you think about like the Krishnamurtis and the Yoganandas and all the ones that have had enlightened states that they reach, they've already had, they've come in with obviously, I think, a lot of less karma that other people haven't had, because it doesn't mean that their lives weren't difficult. It didn't mean that they didn't have the challenges with finance or family or housing or what have you. I mean, every soul comes here to go through a unique path, and it's clearing out all the previous lifetimes of stuff. And as we all know, because I think most everybody on this call had stuff with Judith, except actually I think I saw Gail log on. So she didn't have any of the experiences with Judith, but we've all had all these clearings, personal clearing moments. And when you look at, oh, she's off. She was at the airport. So when you look at these things on a personal level, and me, whoever it is, when we go in and observe where we are now and look back through time, through the accumulation of the experience to where we are now, and do we feel clear? Do we feel like that we've really got the deep lessons, the harder lessons, the hard school, hard knocks? And I think, too, everybody on this call, actually, tonight, everybody's older than me. I think almost everybody's in their 60s or 70s. Anna's not on. She's in the 80s. But all of you have gone through huge amounts of life experience, and you've released so many of the restrictions and the things that used to keep you either in a place of, you may have felt dazed, you may have felt like you didn't know where you were going, what you were doing. At this point, all of you are living in a place of accrued wisdom. And it's really true depending on every single person. You can also have someone here that's 20 years old, and they come in with so much accrued wisdom because they've already done lots of past life stuff and shifting. Some of the kids have done that.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to bring up a point of what you're saying in terms of our age. You're absolutely right about that. It's Judy.
Yeah.
I was a teenager in the 60s, and it was all about peace and love and flowers and the rifles and all that stuff. And I feel like really strongly that our generation is still here to hold the light and to keep the light burning until the planets come around and form. And I understand that it's supposed to really soften by next summer. It begins to soften, not going to go away. I don't think Trump's going to leave anytime soon, but at least not on his own will. But I do feel like we're here. We're still alive because we have to hold that light. That's what it feels to me anyway.
It's true. Absolutely. Because the wonderful thing is, all of you have gone through all the life expressions, and you're not in a place, or my impression is, everybody on the call, we got Louise, Mike, Judy, Joyce, and Bobette. So this is more of a personal call tonight, which is kind of nice. It was meant to be. It's very nice. I like it. But the point is, I don't think most of you are in a place of reaction anymore. I think all of you have really evolved on a soul level where you're just here. You're be here now. You've worked with Judith all these years. For whatever time period it was. Some of you worked, 10 years, 20 years. Mike probably is the longest on this call. Anna had worked with her for 30 years, and LaDonna for 30. But the point is, we've all shifted, and we're here. We're here now, and we're here to be the frequency. But it's a cosmic frequency that's we've never been in this place before, and this is one thing that the astrologers and the little spiritual gurus, they really all kind of talk about this, that we have come to this awakening point. The other part to this too, no matter whether somebody agrees with something that's happening in the political world or not, the bigger function of a Donald Trump, especially because he doesn't get told what to do, he's creating a dynamic. This isn't about a right or wrong thing. He's creating a polarity that it's making anyone that's been sitting on the sidelines wake up and say, I either like this or I don't like it, and you have to step into the game and take some action for whatever you like or don't like. And the other thing is too, it really is. All politicians have the potential right now to be a wrecking ball to destroy what's there, but they won't do it because it's their comfort zone. It's also lots of years of blackmail. I mean, there's so much blackmail out there. And if people really understood the fear, I don't know if you've ever known someone that were maybe involved in little tiny blackmail, like maybe a friend that said, oh, if you tell this, I'm going to tell this on you. So take that and exponentially go to 1,000 times. Imagine everything that's been amassed on everyone, in especially the big business world. They have to make you controllable. If they can't control you, they don't want you there. And you don't play ball with the big boys unless you're controllable. But the main thing is everything is going through a deep disintegration. And it's generations, it's lifetimes. Everyone that's in there now has a karmic inheritance that's playing out. I assure you, all the politicians have been politicians probably in past lives. They've been presidents, they've been legislators, they've been all these things, but they're having to balance out what they co-created in the past. The other thing that's balancing out, and this is where it gets really tricky, let's say in past lives we've had Japanese lives, we had Russian lives, we had European lives. And as a soul, we're an accumulation of trying to balance out any place that we weren't in the highest integrity before. That really gives a lot of depth and complexity to the what's my word here? The interdynamics, the entanglement. There we are. Thank you, Spirit. The entanglement is one of the most difficult things for humans to have a concept and understand, because the entanglement goes back through all the different time-space continuums. It time travels. Everything is constantly in flux. And if you look at the world as Rupert Sheldrake talks about, the morphogenetic field, it's always been a morphogenetic field. But as the vibrational frequencies have gone up, as linear time has moved forward, and we each go through soul progression, every soul, 8 billion people, they say. I really don't think it's 8 billion people. It could be, I don't know. But the point is, how many of us are here? We're all shifting in micron amounts and sometimes huge amounts in our awareness. It's all about waking up. I don't care who it is. It's about waking up. If it's someone that is stuck in some diamond blood mine in Africa, or they're in Ethiopia being starved to death, I mean, they must have had some really shitty past lives. I mean, it's like when you look at all the different levels of enslavement all around the planet, Spirit took me into this, several different times over the years, and I would just go do deep dives. What's this country like? What is this? What's the culture? It's like, oh my God! But in Western cultures, most of us are not educated, or we have no awareness of the depth of the difficultness of human life in other places. I mean, you don't know what you don't know. I didn't. And until I went to go deep dive with these things, I did not know. And yet, if you take the adage that everything is always perfect in every moment, every soul came here to do whatever it's doing. They're either balancing out karma, they're coming here to do evolvement. It could be the Aboriginals in Australia. I mean, you talk about really primitive tribal engagement, but they can be very deeply immersed with spirit. They are creating in a completely different way than Western cultures certainly do. There's something about simplicity, and if you go down into certain countries, or down in Africa or South America, even in Africa, the human expression is it's almost very infinite as far as what we're experiencing here. And you do have the controllers. But all of this, if you really look at the bigger picture, it's about taking our individual power back. How do you take your power back? How can you be empowered here in whatever country you're in? It can be India, it can be China, it can be Russia. It doesn't matter the country. Every country has its control mechanisms the rules, the laws, the guidelines, whatever else. It says, if you're going to be in this country, you're going to adhere to all of this. If you can't adhere to this, then you're breaking some law and we're going to lock you up. Now, some countries are way worse. If you take the Middle Eastern countries, God bless poor women that are still stuck in those places. But even women are trying to make huge strides in those countries where they don't necessarily have to wear, something covering their head, and they don't have to wear all the, keep every inch of their skin, totally covered. I mean, it's amazing to me the archaic customs that still play out that are keeping people in limitation. It is. It's just limitation. And if you look at what's happening with Israel, I mean, the projection that's gone on to that little sliver of land over there, I mean, it's immense. But there's something in the souls that still feel like it has to play that out. It's almost like they have to say, I'm going to fulfill this Bible prophecy. So the question is, are they in reaction to what they see in the outer world, people that they're engaging with? Are they in reaction to those people? Or is there something in the DNA that says, I have to come here and balance out past life atrocities, and I have to live this way? I mean, the poor people of Gaza, I mean, God, I mean, you look at it and you see these videos of what they're having to endure and go through, and you would think that human beings right now could set up circumstances to change this. I mean, Netanyahu he's got to be one of the darkest creatures I think to ever walk the planet, because all he wants to do is bomb, 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 bomb. And again, there's even his soul is in a point. He can make a choice point. He can stop anything at any time. Now, one of the bigger things that some of the astrologers talked about is the potential lessening, and I don't think that happens till next year, because of the fact that Saturn is back at the end of Pisces. Neptune's going back in the end of Pisces tomorrow. 3 more months through. This stays until January or February when they come in conjunction in Aries. That really is when the new dream starts. So what does that mean between now and then? I really think this is when we go deep dive on the individual and collective levels. I don't know how dark we're going to have to go to wake people up. Jude and I had many conversations about this over the years, and she said Spirit basically always showed her we were never supposed to go that dark. We were never supposed to create atomic bombs, hydrogen bombs, I mean, all the bombing stuff. No, we weren't supposed to go into that level of destruction, of creation. And so you may wonder, where did that come from? And partially it came from dark other races that knew how to play with the energy on a much darker level, but somehow we weren't allowed to blow the planet up. And if you were to really take an individual that really had a distorted mind, that really came in here in a very dark place, which there's plenty of them out there, they had the potential to do these things. But it doesn't matter about the parties, Democrat, Republican, whatever. If they're up there in Congress, they allowed all these wars to happen. Now, partially, yes, we were going in to clean up some, countries that had dictatorships, and they were really ruling their population under deep control, greed, manipulation, and repression. And so there's part of that. The other part, though, the bigger part, when you follow the money and you look to see who's making the money on it, that's why the wars go on. It's one of the reasons. They create the money from the destruction. But the dark doesn't care about money. The dark creates fear. And the more atrocious, outrageous creations that the dark can come up with to create the fear, it's celebrated by that dark entity. You just look at it, think about it as a presence. It's like an anti-Christic presence. So, and it really is true. I mean, they always talk about, there's going to be an Antichrist coming. I don't think the Antichrist is a person. I think the Antichrist is an energy that anybody can They can serve that energy. They can embody the energy. You can't get rid of the light, though, within the soul. The soul always comes here. Every single nanoparticle is of God. But the people that are in the anti-Christic expression, again, this is free will choice. If you're constantly allowing your soul to be sold to the dark expression, many people take their power through the dark, and they're still trying to balance that out. I do think there's a bifurcation happening. A lot of people have talked about this for the last, 30, 40 years, where you've got a separation of, the Earth into two Earths. You're going to have a higher Earth and a lower Earth. Does that mean that we're just splitting energetically? I have no idea. I don't know what the truth is on any of it, and I'm not going to project a value onto it, because all you're going to do is get caught up in a war of ideology and semantics on whether this is true or that's true. If we're human and we don't have a clue, all we know is that the expansive expression of each human individual is vast. I mean, it's almost unlimited, because, if you think about how many people are expressing in lower forms, and we're not going to be able to change them. There's some people that are so deeply immersed in the dark that they don't want to wake out of it. And, Jude and I talked about that quite a bit with, some different people that she had been involved with, clients over the years. And, it's mind-boggling to think about demonic possession. I won't even go into all the dark the way it does, but the point is there's so many levels of depth that we're attempting to clear out, and we don't have to focus on that dark. It is something, though, to know that dark exists, because one of the things Judith always talked about, everybody always wants to be met. I don't care who it is. The darkest expression on this planet wants to be seen. And that's playing out in all of these different, in the political machinations, business people, they want to be seen. There's a part of the ego. It wants to be seen. But we also have to face the underbelly to come out of it. It's like we're all here in individual expression, but we're also in a place where we have to purge the underbelly. You have to go meet yourself individually and collectively, because we can't give away something we don't own. That's one of the deepest eternal truths that's always there. And I don't know what this is going to look like in the world of form, especially for the next, until we get into Aries, in the spring. Now, some of the astrologers that I've been reading are talking about that this moon is a very challenging moon because of the way the outer planets are in aspect, either oppositions, squares. I think Jupiter is squaring it. Of course, Jupiter blows everything up. You got Saturn in there. It's all very tight conjunctions. So it really is, it represents the biggest choice point time period we've been in our lifetimes, certainly. Now, again, most of you, I think, are 60s and 70s, so you're going to be born, in 50s, 60s. I think, again, Anna would have been the oldest. She'd been 80, but you're going to put the late 30s. But look at the placement of Pluto and everything that was happening in the 30s and 40s, and even up until the mid-50s. This would have been the time when Eisenhower was in. Laura Eisenhower talks a lot about her. That was her great-grandfather and his legacy and what he came here to do. And, she explains, that Ike was not, he was really trying to stand up to all of that dark stuff that was controlling everything, like Kennedy was. And then, of course, Ike didn't get taken out. Kennedy got taken out. But it's almost like, and again, I've said this, if you don't play the big boy game, you either get removed or you get swatted down, or it's just what it is. Now, another thing I've always said about this too, imagine that everybody up in the top of, top business world, top political worlds, they're all playing a part. And if you, the higher you go, the more blackmailable you are, the more you agree to play whatever part that is. I even suggest that Donald Trump is playing a part. There's someone above Donald Trump telling him what to do. You can't tell me, this is the first time in my entire life, and maybe y'all have seen this before, where you had a president that did whatever he wanted to do, and every other member of Congress just sat around and played dead. I've never seen that before. They're bitching, they whine, they whimper, but it's posturing. You know, all it is, you know, something where they whine and complain about something. I've never seen any president, though, and this is most countries, but especially the United States, I've never seen everybody else roll over and play dead. That tells me that he probably has the blackmail that was accumulated for the whole political structure. That's an assumption. I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but a lot of people are suggesting such a thing. But I even still think that someone is above him telling him what to do. And I think I mentioned this before. There's Pepe Orsini. He's an Italian. They call him the Gray Pope. And if you want to go into all these different higher echelons of the dark and how it functions, you know, but it's almost like they're allowed to go up to a certain point of their own free will choice, but there's still a playbook that's playing out. And I think part of it is that they're partially tied to the history. They're tied to the projection of the biblical, you know, all the stories, and you've got all this Bible prophecy playing out, but you've also got the prophecy playing out in you know, Allah and all the Muslim world. They each have all their stories that they bring forward from their books and all the mythology. But if you go even deeper than that, I mean, the Bible supposedly is only written from, well, it's written earlier than, you know, Jesus as an expression coming in 2,000 years ago. Of course, everything is BC and AD and B, you know, after death. But if you go back through the mythology, you know, and you're talking about these planets, and you're talking about the Greek mythology, Roman mythology. I mean, mythology. I think I pulled it up one day. If you go Google mythology and all the different kinds of mythology, and ask how far it goes back. We're talking about tens of thousands of years. It's really deep, and this is an accumulation of the history of the karma that we brought forth. And again, the mythology, it's a projection onto us of how we are supposedly reacting because of the way that planets are placed in our charts. Now, let's say that's all true, and we have this 3-eye atlas interstellar object coming through Scorpio, and it's in Libra now. And so let's say that's cosmically waking up whatever is in its path. Either it's waking it up through conjunction because it's right there in presence with it, like all the personal planets, or they're an aspect to it squaring, which is challenging aspects, oppositions, challenging, semi-squares, challenging. But sextiles and trines are also there. So I do think there's people that are being extremely given high cosmic awakening because they have major planets and placements that are trining and sextiling this 3-eye atlas cosmic object. What does that mean? How does it work? Does the fact it's just activating those planets mean that it wakes someone up spontaneously? I don't know. Hollywood put this show out called The Event. I don't know how many people watch these kind of shows that are, you know, either time travel kind of shows or big events that are going to happen. But NBC put out one. It was called The Event. Well, when's the event going to happen? Oh, it's going to be this big awakening. They're talking about mass awakening. I mean, Hollywood has to always tell you what they're doing before it happens. All these, I don't know if you've seen these different things. People post it on Facebook all the time. They'll show parts of movies that have been made 20 or 30 years ago, and supposedly those things are coming true now. How did they know that was happening? Whether it's Tom Hanks or, did they use looking glass technology and go back and forth through time? They say there's all these portals on the planet that can be used for time travel. Well, let's say that's true. If people are always going back and trying to change something before they come to the present, there was actually a show on NBC, Timeless. That was the whole crux to the show. Well, that's science fiction, right? Well, maybe it's not. Maybe that's soft disclosure. Was Star Trek soft disclosure? Yeah, when it came out in the 60s, look at the things that came out in the 60s, and then even the 70s. And, it's all science fiction. Well, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's right under your nose. They would, have shows regarding remote viewing. What is psychic awareness? And a lot of people would just poo-poo it. But in truth, if we're deeply immersed in spirit, we're all very psychic, because you would just know in your heart. You would never question anything because you would know it in your gut. Everything just comes through as pure energy. So one of the things that I have noticed over certainly my whole lifetime, because that's when television was going color. I was born in '68. We had some color coming out, but you had the projection into the boob tube. You already had the conditioning happen. You already had it in silent movies. And again, I've said this many times, Hollywood was created on purpose by politicians and business people. How better to create a narrative and condition people what to think, how to act, other than television? How do you train kids to be good adults? Hopefully they're going to watch responsible parents. That's not happening very much these days. Some of these kids today are the most unruly group on the planet. I can't imagine them growing up to be anything responsible, to be leaders of countries or anything else. But again, this gets really deep. It gets really vast, and this is how you start to observe the world through multidimensional observation. Now, you can do this for yourself, obviously, but you can also do it when just observing anyone else in your sphere. It can be your parents, your children, grandparents, whoever. There's this whole dynamic. The computer turned itself on and rebooted. But when you're able to really go into your own multidimensional expression as the observer, you can do it for yourself, but you can also do it in the external world, and it also lets you detach from what's happening. Because it's also, like Joyce, you mentioned at the beginning of the call, you're just staying in the moment, you're just in the flow, letting things go and do. You're not attaching to anything. And that's, I think, the biggest lesson that we're attempting to learn. And I think the next 6 months between these eclipses it's going to take people to their core. And I think that I do think that everything plays out according to people's soul contracts. I do think we have free will choice while we're in those contracts. I don't think it's a fait accompli that when you meet someone that you have to engage and go into a relationship necessarily with that person. Depending on where you are in the own soul evolution will dictate if you do choose to go into a participative conscious choice and create relationship. And I also think that we're in a place where the way that we engaged relationship before is completely changing now. In other words, and I've had this with my own experience in the last 2 years, I'm observing when I am around another human being, and it can just be a spontaneous something where someone comes in there's a familiarity, and you look and you say, "Ooh, God, that feels like some soulmate." Well, everybody's your soulmate in some form or another. It could be somebody that walks up to you at Walmart, and you're like, "Oh my God," and you feel like this energy or something. It doesn't have to be good or bad. Don't even place it as good or bad. But if there's some reaction in you, if you're the observer and you're noticing the reaction in yourself, go sit in the reaction. Again, it does not mean you have to engage the other person in behavior of any type. As a general rule, if you always, like, Bobby, Joyce, you're both talking about smiles on your face and joy, everything's wonderful. If you're in that space, the world has to reflect it back to you. Well, you hope. As long as there's still not something on the soul contract that's still attempting to be cleared out. Sometimes we'll just be hit from left field, something that we perceive as, oh, God, that's awful. It's shocking. It's some revelatory thing. Everything that happens to us is just meant to wake us up. And the other thing, though, is when we're going in to create new relationships. This can be a new business venture. It can be friendships. It can be romantic partnerships. It doesn't matter what the type of relationship is. We're invited to sit in pure presence as we're in the initiatory moment of a meeting where fate has brought us together with something or someone. We're invited to go into the totality of who we are as a reflection of the other individual, because everything's a reflection. But we're also asked to look at the totality of their whole soul growth and expansion and where they are and where they've come from, because they too are carrying their own karmic history. What does the relationship look like when you choose to partner together? You create a composite energy, and again, with astrology, that's the composite chart. What is the energy together about creating? And many times we consciously know what we're creating, and many times we don't. It can be you get a new neighbor, move into your neighborhood. It may mean that your spouse, has a new job, and maybe there's a partner they're assigned with, like police work, they get partners. Chemistry labs, they may get partners in creating something in a lab with chemistry. It doesn't matter what the relationship is and how it creates. Sometimes they're consciously chosen relationships, and sometimes they're just through fated events. We're in a fated moment of events. And again, as I mentioned, fate, the two fates are coming across this 3-eye atlas right now. So I really feel like, the astrologers talked about this too, we're in fated creations with relationship with this Libra. So if we're in a place of non-polarity, if we're in a place where, and not a place from arrogance, but a place from deeply heart-centered awareness, where we're just staying in our own power, and we're coming from a place of pure balance, and we ask spirits to engage us with a playful relationship, a balanced relationship. Now, not every relationship is going to be what you think it's going to be, and sometimes your soul still has a hidden place that it wants to work through something, and of course that always gets worked out with a relationship. So Spirit may just throw in a relationship and say, okay, play with this. Again, at the end of the day, everything is always about waking us up. So I think there's a lot of awakening happening with people. There's going to be a lot of new mergers. Think about mergers and acquisitions as far as business relationships. Everything is going to change on a dime right now. And I think that a lot of people that have been in partnerships for a long time, I think these eclipses are going to blow them apart in the next 6 months to get them where they need to be by February, March, and April. So from that standpoint, I think we're going to see political partnerships between countries. I think alliances are going to shift and change. I think that big picture dynamics are going to change. Part of that's going to happen through socioeconomic decisions, tariffs. I mean, And again, everything is serving a purpose. Don't attach to what you see in the outer world of form, because everything that's happening is happening according to the soul contracts that are all involved. That's individual contracts, but it's also group contracts. Everybody that's born now is playing out the contracts on a collective, well, a sub-collective level. So let's say that we've had past lives, with the United States and Japan. Let's say some people that were, around during Hiroshima that were Japanese before, and this time they're born into America, and vice versa. So imagine what's playing out between the souls on that level. Whoever's here in the United States at this particular point has agreed to play out and embody what we as a country is playing out, and we as a country are playing out the energy that the country was created in July 4th, 1776 in this case. Imagine the people born in Israel. The state of Israel in this particular point was created, I forget the date, but 1948. It's not an old state. Pluto was in a really bizarre place in the 30s and 40s. And I think that's one reason the energy is playing out there. The other part to that, though, is when you look at the dynamics of the energy playing out on that particular sliver of the planet. There's huge, deep, multi-dimensional scars that are literally in the earth at that particular point. And it's not a special place. I mean, there's many places all over the planet that are playing out really dark energies right now. The people that were incarnated into those areas and working with those countries, no matter what country it is. I mean, think about North Korea. God bless them. They live in deep limitation. The people in Gaza are living in deep limitation. There's something about their souls and they chose to go through this. And they're also in a place of taking their power. Now, here's the tricky part with this. And Spirit took me into this in the last 2 weeks, really specifically with this. So most of us are in New Orleans. Well, I'm not now, but I was for 30 years. So there's an energy when we're on a specific place on the planet, and we work out that energy with the soul group within that area on the planet. So the personal soul journey gets intertwined and entangled with whatever's going on in that area of the planet. If you're traveling the planet a lot, you have the capacity to work with all of those souls on those different areas in different ways. And a lot of people do that. Some people just travel all over the planet doing deep soul work with people. So at the end of the day, it's all about healing. It's all about shifting a frequency and energy. And if you look at all the warring that's happened across the Middle East, this is eons of time, it's a very dense energy. And sometimes I've wondered, Spirit just kind of postured to me, why would those people in Gaza that have nothing, I mean, there's nothing there. It was bombed the heck out of. There's nothing to return home to. Why would you stay? Why on God's green earth would you not beg people to bring you a ship and just go somewhere else? I mean, go any other country, anywhere on the planet. Why would you stay? Why is the soul drawn to stay in that space and continually go through the trauma, the generational trauma? This is generations of all the Gazans that have had to deal with this, and Israel people too. But now, take that scenario any other place on the planet. Now, some people really can't get out of countries because they're not allowed to leave. I don't know how much, the general population of Russia really is allowed to travel out. We know that North Korea is locked down, and most people would not dare go in there. That's a really locked down place. So what is it for people in North Korea to perceive in reality when they're literally in a cage? They have freedom, I guess, to walk around with where they are. Who knows what the truth is about what their existence is. I didn't expect to go into all this today. This is wild, but Spirit's wanting to take you guys into a place of thinking beyond your own borders. Where are you now? In cosmic awareness, we would have, again, there's no separation. So imagine you'd have awareness of every other human being on the planet. Go beyond that cosmic awareness and go out into the solar system. And we've done this through meditation. We take in all the planets. We take in all the other sun-daughter universes. We go into the great sun, the great central sun, the great central sun, so on and so forth. So when you go into that cosmic awareness and you plop back here on this little blue ball and you go into yourself as a member of humanity, really is what we're supposed to be. We're not supposed to be American over here, Chinese over here. You're not supposed to have the separation. Again, all these things, that was just another way of separating the human condition. And all of those things are falling away if we choose to release them as a separation perception. So when you get back to the core, we're just all humanity. So in truth, all these other projections on the separations as far as Democrat, Republican, all the belief systems, that's what keeps everybody divided. And I really feel like that we're being asked to step up to the plate and release all that. Don't identify as a Democrat or Republican. You're a human being. And if you look at the way that people are still engaging everyone else, there's always us versus them. That's what they want. They took so much time to create this. It's embedded in the DNA. It really is. But this is also what we're giving up and what we're healing ourselves from, is the separation. The problem is that people are so identified with the separation, they don't know wholeness. They do. It's still there. The wholeness never went away. We're just reawakening the wholeness. This has been a lot today. I had no idea I was going to go into this. I was going to go into meditation early. So, does this make sense to everyone? Are you following this? Does this wake up anything for you as far as how you view the world, how you view yourself, your relationship to yourself, God, cosmos? Anybody want to share?
Jonathan, I think that tonight you are speaking my truth. This is my existence.
Right.
The intent, the density and the depth of the density, and just I'll look at it sometimes and say, this can't be moved. And I know it can, but seeing the depth of it has just been incredible for me in these last couple of years.
Yeah. It's been a lot. It really has. Anyone else? What do you think, Joyce? You're always a good one for this.
Well, I'll go back and forth in living a life that I'm not aware I'm living, like walking into an energy field that is not me, was me, and then coming out of it. Yeah, it's surreal. The whole thing right now, to me, is surreal. Like we've already moved into a different neighborhood. We're not where we used to be.
That's really true.
Yeah. And I think for little people like how I consider myself, I'm not, running a business or in government, the one thing at the end of the day is you look at all of that and say, isn't that interesting? You know, taking sides.
They're having a life
doesn't work.
experience. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. Not to simplify it, but to make it make sense in a way that you can negotiate a day.
Well, the main thing is to not become entrapped in it and it take your joy, because that's the purpose of it. I mean, that's the purpose of the dark. It's how it functions. And when Judith started really taking me into the entanglement of the dark and the function of it and the ways that it permeates the soul, the way that it circuitously goes in and literally hijacks people's life force. I mean, that's the thing that's been so, I think, just shocking to me, is the more I go into the depth of that, it's like, oh my God, how can that happen? And I mean, I've watched people be taken over by the dark. I've watched people totally shut down. I've watched people create disease patterns, and they weren't even aware of it. And then all of a sudden, they're like, they become consumed by the disease pattern. And I certainly have had to go in and observe the whole thing, even with Judith. I mean, she created a disease pattern. The very thing she's working with us energetically to clear, with us, and yet a disease pattern still created itself. And it's like, how does that happen? That made no sense to me. And
but in thinking about that, Jonathan, what about what couldn't that be just the path of her soul?
Oh, absolutely.
Like
that's why I released all of it. I mean, it was always meant to be that way. And it's funny. Judith always used to talk about she left her astrology behind. She left her chart. She wasn't even following the astrology chart. And yet she would still reference it, when we would talk about these calls. Well, Jonathan, what's going on in the astrology? Oh, it's this and this and this. And but she thought she was beyond the astrology. And so in a way she was, because when you go into infinite awareness, this is a jump. This is a jump for the soul in perception of reality. So at what point are we jumping and playing a symphony? At what point is our life an expression of the planets playing us? This happened, you're going to meet so-and-so. It doesn't tell you who you're going to meet, but at this particular event, you're going to have some big meeting. It's going to be fateful. It's going to be wonderful, blah, 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 blah. In 20 years, or let's say 29 years, that relationship is going to end because Saturn is going to have a Saturn return, and the dynamic of the energy, whatever it was, is going to play out, and you will both end up leaving that relationship because Saturn returned. And I've heard astrologers talk about this so many times. They talk about Saturn returns, and sure enough, they've got people divorcing, splitting up. The dynamics, it doesn't always have to be that, complete, but usually if you go through a relationship shift, you have to change the dynamic that set up the relationship. And for people that get, quote, married, and again, the legal stuff, that's all 3D. We sit there and we agree to all these 3D terms that tie us to somebody, but even that's not real. None of it's real.
It's programming, isn't it?
It is.
Isn't it programming?
It's all programming.
Yeah.
And if you look at the way that the religious world was created to hijack our spirituality. Oh, you can't get married unless you're Baptists, and Baptists have to be married. Oh, Catholic and Catholic. Oh, you've got to go through these things. You've got to repeat after us. You've got these rituals. Okay. Now here's the deal with this, and this is where it gets really. How many times when we're repeating somebody else's script, and they always talk about spelling. We're casting a spell. I mean, the very language that we're using has so much hidden symbology behind it. but it's also powerful. Words are powerful. When you use words with people you're engaged with, when you talk to them, if you can come from a place of just pure depth knowing, God awareness, you would never, ever use a cross word against another human being because they're your reflection. There's no separation.
Right.
You would never want to call yourself
Right.
trash. You would never run yourself to the ground. And so, and again, all this is polarity. So we come in here with a charge, a frequency charge. As we go through and we release the frequencies and we heal all those places deep within the mental, physical, and spiritual parts of ourselves, that's what keeps the physicality more in health as far as a balance. Because if there's any place that's imbalance in any of those areas, it usually plays out in the physical. And it's one reason why if people don't heal early, they end up, creating, disease patterns, and it takes themselves out in the physical. But how much of that is a belief system, and how much of it is something that's already programmed in the DNA that has to play out? There's also genetic inheritances. Like I mentioned Judith a while ago, she had skin cancers, and it happened, with the face, nose, upper torso. Her father had a major face skin cancer. I mean, he was like a poster child type case, that they looked at in the 60s or 50s, whenever it was when he got that. I mean, all the doctors, all the Oshner, they're like, oh my God, this is like a huge case study. And so was it already in her DNA that had to play out that way? Was it something that she really could have transitioned out? Or was it a place within herself that she couldn't go to? Was it the spot that Lazarus always talks about? We each come in with a blind eye and a deaf ear. Was there a place where she didn't go meet that? And believe it or not, yes, you can absolutely have people that can see for everybody else, but they can miss some micron of something for themselves. And she and I talked about this for, the last 5 years. I was going in and looking for her, and I would bring up all these things. She'd say, oh my God, yes, and she'd clear this, we clear it, all that together. But yet there was still something that was not able to be cleared. But yet she could clear and do for humanity. She would go into the initial seed of the fall of the human, of mankind. I mean, we went into all these things. And yet there was still something that eluded her. And there's plenty of people that make it into their 80s and 90s, even hundreds. They didn't do the vast levels of work that her soul came here to do as far as assisting humanity and clearing this, but their souls didn't come here to do that. Her soul did. And she had to go through deep initiations to go into the next levels and layers of doing that. And if you've never done that type of work, you have no frame of reference for the work.
But at the soul level, that was her choice, right?
That's correct. It's true for all of us. I mean, the other thing that I think I've been in an observance of in the last, especially 15, 16 years with all the older people here and attending. I'm attending the aging. I'm attending the death. I'm attending the human disintegration, let's call it that, because disintegration happens on many levels and layers. And I've had to be careful, from a standpoint, they talk about when you're sharing the energy field of whoever's around you. And science on cutting edge stuff that they're talking about now, our cells mimic whatever they see in the outer world. So people you're around, you take on the energy. You become whatever you're with. And I will say, I feel like my health has gone down as far as my vibrancy. I don't feel like I've got energy. I'm around death all the time. I'm around people that are aging on really core levels. I'm watching life force disintegrate right before my eyes. I watched it with Judas. I attended death with Judas. I attended it with my mother. And I got there just 10 minutes as Judas had passed away. So I'm there at the end of transition and the physicality, with Karen, her daughter. She was the one that was there. And there's something about attending death. And not everyone can attend death. They don't have a frame of reference for that either. But most people don't want to do it. And how can you attend death but not become the death? And that's a very challenging thing to do. Because people, and there is the entanglement, and people's energy can suck you down. I mean, it's like if people feel like they're lost, if they feel like they're at the end of life, if they feel like, don't think for 1 minute, especially if you're energy sensitive, that you can't be pulled into it. I mean, I have had to really, really, really fight to maintain who I am outside of the death that's all around me. It's been a bizarre dynamic. And there's a lot of older people in this
I believe
town. It was called like a retirement community because it was like the friendliest town in America at one point. I don't know how it got voted on, and we're a college town. But there's a lot of people here aging, and it's almost like there's more. Well, and I think this happened everywhere. There's more aging people than there are doctors to attend all the different modalities that are happening in the disintegration of the physicality in human beings. I mean, there just aren't as many. And because people are living longer, you got to have more doctors coming in. But a lot of these, the medical schools are not graduating enough doctors for whatever reason. They've got caps on them. I think it's because they're trying to maintain money for themselves. I've had doctors tell me that.
Well, and then the medical schools, from what we're hearing down here, to the medical, the doctors coming out are not educated in the way that would really serve what we've got going on right now. It's become more of a business than a healing.
It's absolutely a business.
Right?
It's called building your practice. That's what it's called. But they tell you to build your practice.
Okay.
But the other part, too, though, is allopathic medicine here has gone away from, people will tell you the symptoms. They'll tell doctors symptoms. But the main way to, quote, treat someone now is to prescribe a drug. It's all pharmaceutical. Or you go in and have surgery. Part of it is.
Yeah, but
and
if you listen to programs, The Truth About Cancer, that program, okay, where they interview doctors from different countries and how they handle cancer, and how we are not doing well here in our country at all.
No. That's just one way that we're living out distortion. That's what Spirit explains it to me. It's a distorted world, and we're really upside down as far as it's like the world is totally inverted. It's upside down completely. It's almost like we're living in hell here and not creating the heaven on earth. There's people here still creating heaven on earth. Don't get me wrong, but if you look at and if you look at the exponential expansion of the distortion, especially with pharmaceutical drugs, and this has happened in my lifetime.
Right.
But I mean, plenty of people were taking barbiturates and stuff in the 50s and 60s. So I mean, that's basically all of our lifetimes. But if you look at the percentage of people on those drugs now, as far as what was there before, it's exponential. And if you look at what it's affecting in the way that the brain chemistry can either function here, and this was all done by design. They did not want us waking up.
Oh, okay.
And people are habituated to taking a drug. Oh, I feel bad. Let me take a pill. Pick a pill. Any pill. Pick a pill. That's our world. Pick a pill. It's sad.
Yeah.
And then they put the disclaimers and all the ads on television and just bombard you with all that. And I would say 60% of all ads on television now are pharmaceuticals. And they sit there and tell you,
Yes.
oh, you're going to have this and this and this and possibly death, stroke, heart attack. But if you die, oh, well, just tell your doctor before. Well, what's the doctor going to do? Put you on another drug? Yeah. So doctors, think about this point here. A doctor has agreed to supposedly do no harm. How many doctors on a core soul level would be mortified when they really, and they're going to have to face this, when they face the truth that when they prescribe a drug, they're actually killing people? Because you're going in and you're changing the chemistry, the biochemistry. We were never meant to have all that synthetic crap in our body. The body cannot metabolize it.
Well, and the system has done such a good job convincing the doctors that they either follow the program or they may lose their license.
That is correct.
Okay, so everybody's in the trap. Uh-huh.
It is a trap. I mean,
yeah.
Yes, and that's the distortion, and that's the entanglement. But it's also it's the prison. There's so many levels of prison that have been created in our quote society that keep people from living in pure freedom. But it also entraps the soul, because the soul is creating deeper into the distortion. And how many people do it for the money? They go into it, I think, well, it's probably half and half. A lot of people go into something because, I can make a good living for myself. But that was the false reality that we got sold in America.
Well, Jonathan, I'd like to get back to the comment.
Yeah.
Right, but you mentioned something about the soul. Doesn't the soul, can the soul be hijacked? I thought the soul was always new. Okay.
So here's the way this works, and to try to personalize this for yourself, and each of us personalize it for yourself. How many times have we had an individual pop in, just spontaneous? You meet someone, and there's an alchemical process that happens where you think, oh my gosh, I've known you my whole life. And you strike up a conversation, friendship, and then you merge. You get more deeper in the relationship. It can be friendship. It doesn't matter what the relationship is. It can be a business.
Right.
You go to work someplace. I feel like at home working here. Oh, this feels so good. And you go immerse yourself in whatever that is. Now, that's the initial honeymoon phase of any relationship. Honeymoon phases are there for friendships, they're there for whatever it is. You can have a honeymoon phase when you have a child. When that child becomes 2 or 3 years old and they're driving you nuts, you're like, oh my God, what have I done? That's not the case for everyone. But as a general rule, our kids are our own karma. And I've told this to people before too. It's like, how's your kid? How's that working out for you? Oh my gosh, they're hell on wheels. Well, they're your reflection. They're your DNA. Sorry, hate to tell you that. Well, up to an extent. So at some point, you have the internal part that's your energy field that you are born in with, and you've got to clear that energy. The other part is when you are interacting in your outer world of form, when you go to school, when you go to work, all the different time periods of your life, you're interacting with everybody out there. Those interactions are going to create new creations within you. Now, here's the difference. If you are always in reaction to everything else around you, then you're not taking full responsibility for what you're playing out because you're in reaction. And I've had to help way too many people I've known, especially when I ran the nightclub. They were always in reaction to what someone else was saying or doing with them. And I'm like, stop being in reaction all the time. Do what you want to do. If the two, soul mergers go in one direction together, that's wonderful. But how many times do we give our power away to the other person? It's constantly a power grab.
Absolutely.
And
then
there's always
and
someone
then
out
the
there that
example
wants to
of
usurp your power.
Sure. Mm-hmm. And then friends of mine as well as me, okay? So you meet someone You get in relationship. You take on the mantle of marriage. Something happens.
Yep.
You go different ways, and then your family looks at you and say, "Geez, I'm glad you're back."
That happens a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
So where did you go?
Especially in the romantic relationships.
Yes. How you define your role in a friendship or even as a parent. I mean, I look at my children, the relationship we had when they're little bitty, you know them. As they grow, you know them less and less. And then you're observing and enjoying more or less.
But here's the other part to this. Everything is a frequency. And we don't want to necessarily own the fact that we got a failed relationship within our frequency. We think, it was always the other person. You got to go into your own core. Why did the relationship not work? It always takes two. And the relationship is an energetic thing that plays out. A lot of it's past life karma. And if you think about the ones that stay deeply immersed in really detrimental relationships, I'm talking about control. I'm talking about people that cause trauma, create traumas. Why do you stay in the trauma? This is generational wounding, but it's also the core wound we come in with, which is the Chiron. I also think it's the other 22 centaurs. So wounding happens on a multidimensional level as well. It also happens multi-generationally, and it can also happen, the same wound that happens for you may have been with your either one or both parents. It'll continue to go down through your children until you go in and heal it within your own DNA. Wounds are absolutely transmittable in the DNA. And we're always, again, it goes back to this, we're always looking to be met. And if you're looking for love in the wrong places, you're going to be met. You just won't be met in the way you're hoping to be met in. And all of it is about seeing yourself. And I think this is the hardest part that any person deals with, is having to go face the fact that they co-created the distorted relationship. And there may have been wonderful parts about the relationship, but then there are some parts that wasn't so great. I think depending on where people are in the evolution of the soul dictates the depth of the polarity that gets played out in the relationship. I mean, you've seen some people that all the relationship seems to be is trauma drama. And it's extreme. I mean, for many people, they vacillate between huge extremities of the relationship. One day they will be hot. The next day they're like, oh, my God, they hate each other. Again, it's a tornadic expression that plays out. That's in the DNA. It's not just the other person. You have to own the part that's yours. So if you're ever having this conversation with someone, you're trying to help them find their own shadow, you can't give away something you don't own. And it's also why when people leave a certain relationship, they'll go into another relationship thinking it's going to be different, but it's not. It'll be different. Many times it's the same exact energy just played out, because if you've not healed it, you're going to recreate it in another relationship. And so here's the point to this whole thing. This Libra moon today, it's a new moon. It's at 28 degrees of Libra. It's about the mastery of seeing ourselves against the other. The other is everything. The other is every single relationship in your life, every single person you know, everything you come in contact with. It's your relationship to God, how you perceive yourself as God. The last moon, the full moon in Aries, last week or 2 weeks ago, that was all about the I am presence. It is no coincidence that these two moons were on the Aries-Libra axis. That full moon was about releasing core stuff within the I am presence, so that we got to this moon, which is about the other. our relationship to everything around us. This is from every single level, though, and this is where most astrologers don't go into. They'll talk about relationships as far as people. I'm talking about your relationship to every nanoparticle of existence around you. I'm talking about every nanoparticle of your relationship of yourself internally. I'm talking about every nanoparticle of your multidimensional expression throughout any and all timelines. When's the last time you heard anybody talk like that?
Wow.
It's taking us so deep for the capacity to do it. Sometimes I sit here, I hear this stuff come out of my mouth, and I'm like, I'm not saying this. I'm saying it, but it's like I'm in a twilight zone. I just get out of the way, and Spirit brings forth whatever wants to be known. But and here's the deal with this. We're going into a level of refinement. This is soul refinement that we've never been through. We've already separated the wheat from the chaff. Well, we hope we have. You don't want to be creating, really rough grain rye sandwiches in your life at this point. Well, I don't know. They're pretty good on occasion. But the point is, you're hoping that the water can just run over you. And the water, think about water. It's all fluid. It's all liquid. Imagine it just washing over your soul, and it's softening out any little tiny jagged part that your soul still has left as a remnant. That's where I'm saying that people in their highest expression of existence are in this particular point. And that water is trying to, well, it's not trying, it's doing it. Actually, I'm going to even go beyond the water. Call it cosmic awareness. And this is what Neptune is. Neptune is a 160-year transit around through the whole zodiac. Neptune tomorrow goes back into Pisces for one last dip for 65 years. That's a big deal. Okay?
Wow.
It's going to be there until January 29th next year. So for about 3 months, we're going to go deep dive into the Pisces world. Pisces is the end of the zodiac. It's the end of the creation. We're going to go through massive, massive endings. Saturn is already there. Saturn actually won't come back into Aries. Neptune comes back before Aries will. Neptune only stays at 29 degrees, the anaretic degree for about 90 days, a little over 90 days. Saturn's there with structure. Saturn's at the end of our old life, the end of the old reality. We're going to feel like we are being taken into, and this is individual as well as collective, every type of structure, the way we structure our world, the way we perceive the world. Neptune is there to dissolve it. It's in Pisces. Imagine the ocean washing out your soul. Imagine yourself, Pisces, spirit, all of that. Imagine cosmic awareness coming in and literally putting a light in every nanoparticle of your body, of every nanoparticle of your existence throughout the whole time-space continuum as an exponential expression. In every single lifetime you're living concurrently, every parallel reality. Is that blowing your mind yet?
It's blown. Because then what? Then that's being reborn with awareness? If it's cleaned out.
It's releasing everything that you've structured your life to believe you were.
Then how do you look in the mirror? Would you recognize yourself?
Sure. Because at the end of the day, you only have you. It's the eternal expression of who you are as God. because you're releasing all the other distortion. This is
all
what
the
I've been saying
attachments.
for the last, well, not just that. I'm talking about every miscreation, every distorted creation that you've ever created. Imagine that the next 3, 4, 5 months is going to purge all that. Now, that doesn't
Jonathan,
have
if I could
to,
truly imagine that, I wouldn't recognize. I don't think I would recognize myself.
Okay, so put that in perspective. That's a current you that's attempting to recognize a false distortion. Sit with that for a minute. What if you release all that? You're no longer the distortion. All you would see is the brilliance of the vastness of who you are as an expression of God in its highest capacity.
Yeah.
Most people have just forgotten their capacity to know themselves in this space. That's all. It's just forgetfulness, and we've all agreed to go through it.
Right. That's all, huh? Yeah.
That's all it is.
I'm imagining the shock and surprise to truly
of yourself
see me.
or everybody else.
Yes,
yeah.
Of me. Of everybody else. But that you can accept. But if you look in the mirror and see you as see me, the light, the who I truly am, I would think, holy shit, who is this? Huh. Very cool.
Well,
and I think we're going to say, there I am.
You can actually
either
say
way.
That right now.
Yeah, but either way, it would be,
what if
oh
you
my
say that
goodness.
right now? Mm-hmm.
If I said that right now, it would intimate that I had an idea. And right now, I can say I don't have an idea of what I would look like.
You can step into it right now, though. It doesn't have to be 3 or 4 months from now. Right now, this is where we take our power. When you step outside of anything that keeps you entrapped, that's when you're taking your power, and it has nothing to do with power over anything or anyone around you. It's stepping so deeply into a re-immersion, and I say re-immersion because we've kind of stepped away from a total embodiment with spirit. But when you go back into that re-immersion, I mean, there is no separation. That's the illusion. We created that.
Right.
That's part of it, and we all co-created it in very unique ways. But we've all been doing these, meditation calls with Jude Hell since, well, I guess 2010 is really when she started doing the stuff at Roberts that most of us met up with. I mean, we were doing workshops and stuff before that at different places, but as far as this main group, I think here, and we'd already disbanded most of that and went to telephone because of COVID. But she was even still doing the workshops, in person once a month, just for the personal engagement. That way the souls can come together. We see each other. There's something about going into all of this transcendental meditation work in person, in physicality.
Yeah.
There's something about coming together in the physical because you're making it real in the physical. When we're on the phone, we're doing it virtually. But there's no separation. So it doesn't matter if we're on the phone or if we're in physicality together because the souls are merged. I mean, when we do this work, all of our souls are coming here either with a conscious or unconscious agreement to participate. And whether or not someone's on the phone and even talks, I mean, there's a lot of people that attend and they don't talk necessarily because their souls are not drawn to speak, but their souls are drawn to participate through presence.
Right.
So it's still an equal participation. What's happening is when we're talking, we're attempting to put words on something, but honestly, even our words fail to take you into the depth of just pure isness with spirit.
I totally agree. So we don't have the language.
There's no language for that. No. But the heart knows it. It's cosmic awareness.
Right.
And so the deeper we go into it, and the fact that we have done this, we've been doing it now for over a year and a half. I mean, we did the first call March the 25th of last year. So by the time we get to 2 years of these calls in March this year, Neptune and Saturn will have already met up in Aries for the final time, and we will be in the new creations. And when that happens, it's going to also be at the beginning of the eclipses next February and March. I think it's February 17th and March the 3rd. That's when the creations really take off. They take form. Because Saturn will be there, finished up with Pisces, and Neptune will be finished up with Pisces. And think about what that means. 160-year journey with Neptune we're finishing from a 160-year journey. Imagine that the slate washed clean. Now, I don't know what that's going to look like for the United States, considering a 160-year journey from 1860 till now. We're we're cleaning up the last 160 years in the next 3 months. I don't know what that looks like.
No. I
Think
can't.
about
I wanted to say something about Judith's I don't know, one of the last times I heard her. She talked about we've gone through a cycle that thousands and thousands of years that we're now completing, and we're going into a rise of the feminine. It's going to be. It sounds like it was going to be very positive. Only it's taken us a long time. And I mean, when you come into a time of enlightenment, you're in darkness. If you prepare for the dawn, you're in darkness, and it just feels like now it feels like we're on the verge of the dawn, whatever that means time-wise. I don't know. Well, and 50 years, 100 years, I don't know.
I was about to say, I mean, that's the part where we kind of tricks us, because we're in time.
Right.
Time itself doesn't exist. And yet we're still in a timeline because we're observing a Gregorian calendar. You know, today is October 21st, tomorrow's the 22nd. We still got December. We still got next year. But all of that's still collapsing. And the other part to this is, I mean, we can say, you know, that we're in the precipice of it changing, and yet Judith and I were having this conversation in 2012, 13 years ago. We thought we were shifting. We thought, oh, here it is. And everybody had this pregnant pause. Oh, 2012's here. Oh, my calendar's ended. Well, and I don't think you heard this one, Judy. The last couple calls, I think I've mentioned this. And it has to do with when they switched us to the Gregorian calendar. This has been going on for over 100 years, but Eastman Kodak wanted George Eastman. He wanted to put us back on a 13-year calendar, the actual lunar calendar, because it follows natural Earth cycles and everything else. And there was a whole big vote, and they decided to not do it. But he actually had the Kodak company follow that calendar for like several years before having to give it up. But and this is one thing that I've told people about. What if? And here's the other thing. So there's 13 constellations. When you look at sidereal astrology, when you look at the ecliptic, I mean, even tropical zodiac knows that this is true. There's a constellation out there called Ophiuchus, and it's that 13th constellation. The sun is in Ophiuchus longer than it's in Scorpio. It's only in Scorpio technically 7 days. And technically the sun is in all those. It's not equally, a circle of 12, signs of 30 degrees each. It's actually 13 signs, and we go through. And if you look at those 13 cycles, 13 times 28 equal month days would be 364 with 1 day left over. And so I postured, what if they created, to substantiate the distorted life we've been living, What if they knew we were going to lose time, and the Mayan calendar really didn't end in 2012, but it actually ended this December coming up? And that's 13 years difference exactly. There's always something about the Christ in 13. The other reason I say that is because, and I've got to make that video in the next week or two. I've got to get this out because it's very pertinent. But in December, all the personal planets are coming in and making a beeline. They're all going over oscillating Lilith. Oscillating Lilith is the actual movement of Lilith in the charts and through the sky. It's a point. It's not a movement of something, but it represents the apogee, the farthest point of the moon's path with the Earth, of the orbit. And it's a very erratic path. And most astrologers don't follow it properly, I don't think. And they don't interpret it properly because they don't understand the energy. But what I'm going to put out is going to help people understand the way the energy works. But all these personal planets are going to go in through what I call the Lilith vortex. And Lilith, for me, at its highest expression, represents the highest expression of the divine feminine that's waking up. It's been in Scorpio. That's not a coincidence. It's moving into Sagittarius, but Sagittarius holds the galactic center, which is the Milky Way, the center of our galaxy. All of these things are coming into a crescendo at December, at the end of this year, all to meet up in the beginning of January next year, all in one crescendo, and they will have all gone through the galactic center. That's not a mistake. Mm-hmm. That's why I think this is the end of the Mayan calendar, technically. And I think that the Gregorian calendar they've had us observing time on created the distortion of time. And I think it pushed us out. And if you also think the natural cycles for the planet, there's 365 days we observe. If you observe 13 lunar cycles and 28-day months that are all equal, you'd end up with 364 days. So it's one day off. And we even celebrate with a leap year every 4 years. So they're all close, but they don't sync up in perfection. Here's the other part that doesn't work for me. 364 days, it times up our year sequence, but it does not fit with a 360-degree circle. There's something wrong there, and I don't know what it is. And I'm going to posture this to all these astrologers and astrophysicists and everybody else. I'm going to say, please answer this. I want to know. Because I have dug into this for a long time, and I can't figure it out. But I think it's led to the distortion. I think 2012, which was the end of the Mayan calendar, it was supposed to be the end of the Maya, the end of the illusion. I mean, the Maya just is illusion. That's just another word for illusion. Yeah. And so it's supposed to be the end of the old reality. And I mean, Jude had all the books from Barbara Hand Cloud. I mean, she was the 2012 person. I mean, you know, Jose Arguelles. I mean, you had all the ones writing about the 2012 stuff. And we all jumped on the bandwagon. We all went for the 11-11-11 portal, and we went to, you know, sit on the mountains in Arkansas with the crystals, and we did it on the 12-12-12. We did it again. And we all thought, oh, here we are. And then, you know, it all came, and like, okay, that's nice. Now what? Nothing happened. It was the big. It's kind of like Y2K. Oh, computers going to shut down. They can't turn.
Yeah,
2000.
That's what I was thinking too. It reminded me of that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I had to jump through this whole, you know, thing and fix all that. And it's like, oh my gosh, now what? So, and I assure you, this is going to happen this time again. What's different this time, though? This 3-eye atlas comet, whatever interstellar cosmic thing, is crossing all these planets here before they all go through the galactic center at the end of this year. I also think it's very pertinent that there's exactly 13 years between 2012 and 2025. That there's something to that. I don't know what. But, and I look forward to just seeing how it all plays out. But it's funny. I just looked on here. So eight attendees on this call. That's the infinite. There's always there's a numerology thing always happening with these calls. Usually it was 13 people were showing up for most of the time. Like, I mean, sometimes you have someone come or go, but it always averaged about 13 callers. I mean, we're higher, like 17. 17 is a prime number, but there was 13. 12 is another number. You know, you get a lot, but 8 always represents the infinite. Actually, there's technically 7 people though. The 8th represents my computer, which logs in separate. But no matter, the numerology is 8. But there's still 7 of us. And what is there 7 of? There's 7 days. There's 7. I mean, how many things are 7? 7's a prime number. But we're expressing everything through infinite awareness.
Yeah.
It's really interesting when you look at all these things. But the point is, and when you talk to other cosmologists that talk about we're ending the Kali Yuga age. Well, it's 24,000, 26,000. Who are you going to talk to? And again, you know, I've been here on this earth 57 years. You know, y'all are in 60 and 70 years. The awakening period, it's a time period. It doesn't happen in just one moment. It's not like, you know, it's not going to be like the event they talked about on NBC. Oh, you know, everything's going to line up and everybody's just going to wake up one day. Oh, I just woke out of my sleep. Or is it going to be that way? I don't know. I mean, are all of these planets going to align through the galactic center, and when they hit the galactic center, they're just going to wake everybody up? I mean, will they all wake up and stop bombing the hell out of everybody? Are they going to wake up and stop chewing out their neighbors over this and that? Are they going to stop, you know, all the distorted timelines? I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
What do you think of that, Judy? Does that kind of, or did I convolute it worse?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's funny. Yeah.
I mean, and again, we're making it all up as we go along. And but that's how powerful every single human is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And some people are really deeply immersed in the distorted timelines. Well, I didn't mean to go in. This has been over 2 hours been talking about this stuff. I hope y'all have been fine with all this. It's just been, we hadn't even gone to the meditation yet. But, well, obviously it was meant to be because Spirit took me through all this, and I'll upload the video. We'll see who all listens in this time. I guess it was meant to be a smaller group so we could communicate more easily tonight. I always follow Spirit's lead.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I've enjoyed the interaction. It's been nice to hear from everybody. Mm-hmm. Louise, are you still there, Louise? Sometimes Louise will chat with it too, but it's been a lot, and some people may have already fallen asleep.
Well, it's after 11 years, so I'm having trouble keeping my eyes open.
Oh yeah, you're on the east.
Yeah, so it's even later here.
Yeah. Well, we've gone through a lot, so I'll take us into a short meditation just so we can kind of, you know, ground the energy that's coming in. Because, I mean, obviously, I've been talking, but it's not a me talking. It's almost like all of our souls are talking because it wants to know something, or I'm assuming that's true. Maybe this is all the things y'all never wanted to know. I don't know. But I sit in this all the time. I mean, Spirit takes me in and out of this, and I do this because Jude did this with me. Now, we didn't talk about all these things I've talked about because we're in a different place than Jude and I were even 2 years ago. We're coming on 2 years since Jude's been gone. It'll be Thanksgiving coming up. It'll be 2 years since Jude's been gone. Can you believe that?
No.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I called her daughter Karen the other day. I hadn't talked to Karen in quite a while, and she had just got back. She'd literally come back from Colorado that day. So I told her, we'll talk later. I said, you don't need to be talking and catching up on a day when you've just traveled all that long way. But yeah, I mean, Jude's presence is still here, I think, with all of us that worked with her. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when you look at it in the chart, the Judith and Linden asteroids are traveling along with my asteroids. So, I mean, there's something to the frequency of asteroids traveling together. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. What I'm curious about, though, is how much free will choice we have as we continually wake up consciously, and how much we're still co-creating things that come in that shock us, or they appear to be shocking, to like wake us up to some other level of awareness that we may not have, known before. But we could go way down that rabbit hole. Well, does anybody else have any other questions or anything before we go into meditation and try to ground all this? I've actually enjoyed this. This has been I didn't think I was going to go into all this today, but there we are. Okay, well, I will go ahead and mute everybody, though, so we'll stay nice and quiet for the meditation part, though. If nobody has anything else they want to share. Well, I'll just say thank you for everybody that's been on.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you. Everybody else.
Thanks.
It's been awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm going to mute, and then we'll get still wherever you are. If you can stay with us and want to do, I'm not going to do a long meditation, though. We've all gone into meditation so deep, I can take y'all there pretty immediate, I think, and we can ground it. Okay, so I've remuted. Now, okay, well, let's get still, and actually I've got to close my door. I've still got a door open, and it's like 50-something degrees out. It's getting cold. I do like cooler weather, but I'm not going to like 30s and window and okay. Now I'll get quiet since I can stay warm. Cold. Oh, water. I need water. I talked so much I didn't realize how much I talked. This has been a really different session today. It's been a good session. Okay. Okay, so let's go in. So just a quick lead in for you here. Imagine where we talked about all of those lifetimes, everything that's happening concurrently, everything that we are is a multidimensional expression. Imagine that this moon is being taken, is taking us each individually and collectively in to clear out the totality of the distortion in all of the timelines that we've played out through the inception of human existence. Most people don't think to articulate such a vast, wide level of awareness. But imagine that we're able to go in and work to clear that level of our own distortion out of our energy fields, out of the body, out of the cellular structure, out of the cellular memory, out of the Akashic records. Imagine we're going in and clearing our own clean slate. And as we do that, as we call in, as I've trained all you guys to do before, if you choose, I always call in every infinite master through infinite presence. I call in the entire mighty Elohim village of form. I call in the entire elemental kingdoms. And I call in the entire archangelic kingdoms. I call in Saint Germain and the Violet Flame to transmute any and all discordant energies. I call in the Diamond Christ Light, and I call in the 12th Golden Ray. So sit with all of that and allow yourself to have cosmic, oceanic presence. Again, Neptune's going to go back into Pisces tomorrow for all that water. It doesn't have to be the ocean, but the ocean is definitely doing the work for the planet. But cosmic awareness is what's doing it for our own spiritual shift to release all of the distortion. It's just oceanic presence. Imagine all the adamantine particles that are coming in and available to you. And what you clear for yourself, you clear for every other person within humanity. You clear out any and all timelines that has any entanglement with an involvement with you. Just a little imagery to let you know how vast of a powerful brushstroke that you're using on this artwork of your own life. Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming on tonight. Yeah, we covered a lot. So it's been very good. Oh, I forgot I've got to stop recording too.